These are my note cards. Okay, down my hair will fall. Should prayer be allowed in public school? Although there are many different opinions, the Supreme Courts have never really outlawed the ability for students or faculty to be able to pray in school. As long as students' prayer is not disruptive to any other people, they're technically not breaking any law. In fact, many people have said that as long as there are final exams in school, there will also be prayer. But the true debate lies with the ability of students or school officials to deliver prayer in public and organized settings such as a sporting event or a graduation ceremony, or even something as simple as a prayer before their school lunch. This all began in the 1960s. The Supreme Court decided that prayer could no longer be broadcasted over public address systems for any school sponsors or any organized activity. School officials could no longer require students to participate in any type of group prayer. I've lived in two very different states that approach prayers in different ways. I've seen firsthand how schools that allow prayer in an organized settings have totally different environments than schools that actually do not allow prayers. Today we're going to look at 3 reasons I believe that prayers should be allowed in schools. First, I believe prayers in schools sets an overall better tone to the school environment. Secondly, it gives students a positive opportunity to be able to unite and come together. And finally, allowing prayer in school actually creates a better tolerance and respect for others. Prayer is an action that identifies that a person has a belief or something bigger than what they are that they pray to. It creates a kind of moral consciousness in a person that helps them make a better decision, a decision that is more kind towards other people. When they are praying, kids in schools, the feeling in the school is one that seems to be more accepting and respectful to other students and school authorities. And according to research by the majority of the general public agrees school prayer is one of the most effective ways to improve the behavior of young people. Kids need positive role models in their lives as well to give good examples for them. Proponents of having prayer in schools say that the removal of the 1960s was a trigger that have caused SAT scores to drop, teenager suicide rates have gone up much higher, and divorce rates in parents has also gone up higher. When people are not given the option to pray, there's a severe threat and spiritual decline that enters our communities. GotQuestions.org tells us that prayer can be silent, private, or public, formal or informal. Examples of these are seen in schools fairly regularly. For example, students pray at the lunch before they eat, or even students praying before an exam or before they begin a big sporting event. Prayer in schools gives students the ability to come together in spirit of unity. There are positive organizations such as Fellowship of Christians, Athletes, and an organization that I used at one of my schools in middle school that was called Bullpup Believers. According to the Pew Research Center, they say that 55% of students in schools in southern states say that it's a good and helpful for when their teachers pray for them before they take exams. Also, local youth ministers would come to what we call Bullpup Believers in middle school and preach about us. Even sometimes high school students that were big in a church would come and preach, and they would really have a big impact on us students when someone who we looked up to would talk about God to us. There are events created that allow students to pray in schools. See You at the Pole began in 1990. It's only been about 30 years and already 1 million students around the nation have partaken in See You at the Pole. While most people pray to God, other people use prayers as just a way to focus or prepare for a test or even calm themselves when they have a negative emotion response. Finally, prayer in school actually creates a greater tolerance and respect for one another. Those against prayer in school would say that those who do pray in schools look on others with negativity. However, America welcomes all religions and faith. If we were to allow prayer in schools, then everyone would have the right to practice their faith in a way that best suits them and best suits their faith, whether they're Christians, Catholics, Mormons, or any other of the different religions out there. This would help people become more aware of different cultures and and personal ways that may not occur otherwise in society. When people are exposed to other religious practices, it actually creates a better tolerance of that religion because people understand more about that religion. There was a noticeable difference in 2 high schools I attended, one in New Mexico and one in a small town in southeast Texas called Nederland. The school I attended in Albuquerque, New Mexico was much more liberal, and prayer wasn't very popular there. In fact, I was the only student at my school that attended a church. And the lack of moral upbringing showed up in how students acted and how they responded to their teachers. There was a whole lot more disrespect, and students just did not act the same way as they did in Texas. The school I attended in Nederland, which had to be a very small town where only there's about 15,000 people, is much more conservative than the large town of Albuquerque. On Friday nights at football games, or really any other time, there's a moment of silence or statements that of good sportsmanship by a high school student or a teacher or something. And technically, after the end of the statement, the teacher or student is not allowed to say amen, so the whole crowd together stands up and yells amen at the end of the statement. While it is true that the Supreme Court ruled in the 1960s to remove organized prayers from schools, that has not really stopped many students from praying or finding a way to pray around it. There will always be those who passionately discourage any type of religious activity in any secular event, especially school events. However, an understanding of the people in the schools who pray creates a diversity of understanding that only strengthens the educational system. Having prayer in school isn't about forcing compliance. It is a simple acknowledgement that there is a desire to pray for a blessing in this life that we may not fully understand. In conclusion, we really should not ban prayer from school because honestly, that's how most of us, including me, got through many years of school.